Hi, this is my reflection for FSP 114 Social Justice History and Practice. When I think of the class, I think of discussion automatically because every time we would walk into the class, we would have time just to sit down and someone would start presenting on either a book or an article, and right after that, we'd start discussions. And our class is basically a square or rectangle where everyone would sit and just look at each other and talk about their opinions on certain issues or certain topics, and then we would just talk about that and how it related to different people's lives within class or within Camden, or just broad people or broad examples of people. And I remember that when we once we did presentation, and it led to so much controversy. It was actually the presentation someone did on abortion, and it led to so much controversy that we were just basically arguing back and forth. And it wasn't bad at all. It was just very interesting, and it brought a lot of knowledge to some of the people, I felt. Um, and I know that during the arguments, I was pro choice while most of the class was pro life. And if you've never been to a pro life rally, people who are pro life are very, very opinionated and very strong to their feelings. And when I said I was pro choice, and the person next to me had said she was pro choice too, some of the girls found it very outrageous because I'm a Catholic. I went to Catholic school, and I'm constantly talking about how I was raised Catholic. But then again, I'm pro-choice. I allow children to die, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, I don't know why you're yelling at me right now. I'm sorry, but I feel that I'm pro-choice because I think that every woman should choose whether they want to abort their child or not. And even if it was killing a child, which I do not see it as, I see it as the child only starts to get a heartbeat after 11 weeks of pregnancy. So before those 11 weeks, if you terminate the pregnancy, you're not killing anyone, because till then the child just cells. And I think that if you terminate a pregnancy before 11 months, 11 weeks, then you're you're not really doing anything. I see it as the scientific side, where it is proven that a child is not really a child until the heart starts to beat. And I remember that people got really angry because I kept on saying that, and I said that I would never terminate a pregnancy because I grew up Catholic and I think it's wrong. And I just like children and I would never do that. And they found it just so bad. They felt like I was being a hypocrite. I was saying I said that I was pro-choice, but then I said I would not terminate a pregnancy. And it's just like I'm pro-choice for who wants to choose. I do not think that abortion should be illegal, because technically it's not really killing anything. You're not killing anyone. And I don't know, I just felt like, hey, everyone has a right to choose. In my opinion, I would never do that. I would never choose to terminate a pregnancy. But I I would like to have the choice. And I just remember having arguments. And I remember that by the time we ended the argument and I had stated my points, some people actually really understood me. And it was great because those people were some of the people who were very, very pro life. And they were some of the people who were yelling at me in the beginning. At the end, there were still people yelling at me, but some of the people had stopped because they had realized that I did have a point. And I just really enjoy that aspect of their class because we would sit there and we'd have arguments, but after the arguments were done, we would take in what that person had said. We would really just listen to a person, and after a while, we'd understand where they come from. So it's basically like I learned a little about everyone else's opinion. I learned a little about everyone, and it's very, very nice to know that if one day I'm gonna have an argument with someone else about pro-life or pro-choice, which is the best way to go, I'll understand where that person is coming from because of this argument we had in class. And not to say this is the only argument we had in class, we had many, and that's why I enjoy it so much because I've learned so much from it. I've learned so many different views from so many different topics, and it's something that really sticks with you in the long run because if you were ever gonna hear this topic again, you'll understand every view on this topic, and it's nice. And then when we had conversations about the book, like I did a presentation on All Our Kin, and I remember that unlike most of our classes, when we did presentations on a book, we would talk about what the important aspects inside the book, and then we discuss it and how it relates to people we know or people we've seen in Camden or just ourselves. And in most of my classes, we just read a book. We go to class, we take notes. The teacher talks to us about more facts within the book, but we never really go into the book and realize and pick out parts that relate to the world. And it's really interesting to sit there in our FSP class and read sections of the book and realize, oh, hey, that's like Dolly. She raised her nephew. She actually took care of him like this woman took care of her niece. Oh, see, this is an example of kinship, and this is what they're talking about that they see in urban cities. It happens in Camden. And then someone in our class even spoke about how she was raised at some point by her aunt, and it was just like, oh, look, another example. And she would explain it, and it was just like we learn a lot more knowing that it actually goes on in different parts of the world than just like reading a book and assuming, oh, okay, it happens in Chicago. Okay, that's great. It's best to read the book and then be able to relate it to other people that we know, because then you'll be like, oh, okay, I've seen that happen in various places. Like I actually even participated when they were speaking because I'm Brazilian, so I have this different culture, and a lot of Latin Americans have the same culture where if they have a really close friend, or their mom has a really close friend who was there for you since you were a child, that person isn't a friend anymore. That person is part of the family. That person is your aunt, and you literally call her your aunt in Portuguese or in Spanish. And it's just, I think it's a different culture. And coming from Brazil and coming into the US and seeing that everyone really just emphasizes the need for a nuclear family rather than the need for a wide, broad family, where I don't really see that in the US that much. I've seen it in Camden, where everyone's basically like family. They all treat each other really nicely, and they're always there for each other, rather than what I see normally. I see just like a mom, a dad, children, sometimes aunts and uncles, but they're just that's the family.